everybody, good morning and welcome back to the ESL Hearthstone Legendary Series. This is currently the off-season from the regular weeks of play. We have all 8 players going to the LAN and we're going to be setting up for the $20,000 finals. But in the meantime, we have 4 weeks of downtime, and rather than just let you guys go off and roam free within Twitch TV and the internet, we decided to host the King of the Hill. Zumo QD here with Frodan. You've been doing the King of the Hill for a long time in the past, Zumo. Are you excited to bring it back?
Yeah, that's where I got my start with Hearthstone casting and with competitive Hearthstone in general. And I really like the format. It's really fun to watch like one player have a breakthrough into a tournament, and I'm really looking forward to this. We have a little bit of a different format than King of the Hill that you're used to. The King of the Hill format stays the same, but each player brings 3 decks, best of 5, of course, last hero standing, which is different from our normal format. Each player gets $150 per win. So we start off with 2 players. The winner faces the next player, the winner faces the next player, and so on until we're left with the king. The catch is that for our tournament, each player has to put 2 youthful brewmasters and 2 ancient brewmasters in all of their decks. So it's a little bit of a twist.
Yeah, so this is called the Master Builder King of the Hill. We're forcing every player to have a secret ingredient in all their decks that they're required to play in. So they can choose any class, they can build any archetype they want, whether it's Control Warrior or they want to go for a Tempo Mage or something like that. They still have to put in the Youthful Brewmasters no matter how they shape their deck. So we gave these players the notice for about a few days. They put some of their brainstorming, and they're all really excited because the 6 players that we have for you today, they're all good creative deck builders in their own right. We have Gnimish versus Koyuki to start things off. The winner faces against Alchemist. Then we have Karma, who made a splash at BlizzCon qualifiers last year and put the rest of the world on notice. I'm excited to have her on board for today. We have renowned deck builder Freshka, who is putting the entire metagame on notice based off his Fatigue Mage creation in recent times. In fact, yesterday, the Chinese tournament was even playing his deck. And of course, we have That's Admirable, who's not really that known for being a player, even though he should be, because he's placed top 16 in his region for BlizzCon. People just know him for more of a caster role, and I think people are going to be surprised by how well he plays, in my opinion.
Yeah, Freshka as well. He plays a lot of mill decks and a lot of creative decks like that. He uses Youthful Brewmaster in some of his decks already. So maybe he has a slight advantage coming into this just because he has more experience using the card competitively.
I know Koyuki and Freshka specifically went out of their way to tell me that today they think they'll do really well.
Okay.
So I think I'm excited because these guys, some of them, they have their history traced really far back into the Hearthstone metagame. Like, for example, the first iteration of Control Paladin with Giants, that was made by Koyuki. And, of course, he's also a card game legend in Legend of the Five Rings. He also plays MTG very competitively. This guy is an absolute stud. And I think this is a good opportunity to see players that we don't normally get to see as often just because they're not exactly at the top of the food chain right now, right? You have Kalento, you have Savitz, you have all these other really strong players, and Amaz, Reynad, etc. forcing getting invited. But we want to also see some of these other players who we don't have too much time for the spotlight, and we feel like the King of his series is a perfect time to give him that opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, some of these players, like going back to the Fight Nights, and of course you're definitely familiar with those, being a part of it and all. Koyuki and Gnimish were on that a few times, I think.
That's right.
That's where I first watched them. They were really strong players back then. Took a back seat for a while, but given their chance to shine once again.
All right. Of course, giving a chance to shine is all made possible thanks to our sponsors. So to begin the show, we want to thank all the people at Newegg, Crucial, Western Digital, and Cooler Master. They have all kinds of promotions on the Twitch page, as well as the link that you see below. You can support us by supporting them. And of course, Plantronics, who signed on mid-season. They're going to help us finish out strong here by giving away 2 rig headsets, as well as 50 Hearthstone Expert packs. Good stuff. So that way you can boost your collection and hopefully, maybe be inspired by some of the creative deck building process that we'll see today. So our first match of the day, Gnimish versus Koyuki, I believe, is coming up. Remember, guys, that this is the ESL Legendary Series indeed, but in honor of being a King of the Hill format in terms of how the matches progress, I felt like it was, really strong to have last hero standing make a comeback here because people have seen our format, they like it a lot, but how can you have a King of the Hill series and not play Last Hero Standing, which is by nature King of the Hill?
Yeah, it's very true. And it just better suits the format in general. I know a lot of people had some, I think mostly positive feedback for a format that we use throughout the regular season and that we'll use for the Legendary Series LAN Finals. But of course, it's better for Last Hero Standing, King of the Hill. Makes sense.
I think so too. The first match is going to be Paladin versus Warrior. That's pretty exciting in my opinion. Because I feel like when I think Brewmasters in Warrior, the first thing that comes to mind is Iron Juggernaut.
Oh my god!
A card that you would naturally play because of how stupid it would be to put 5 mines in your opponent's deck.
Yeah.
The second thing is, like, with Paladin, I feel like there's a lot of very weird shenanigans that you can do with, like, anything that has a battle cry, like Peacekeepers as well.
Yeah.
Or whatever you want to do with Quartermasters. I think Quartermasters are going to be really fun to see if you combo with that too. So maybe you have, like, 7/7 guys by the end of it. I don't know. I feel like it might not work in an ideal scenario, but let's see how these guys do it.
We can talk about matchups all day long, but we just don't really know what to expect coming into this. You don't see on your screen there, Anti-Killbot Iron Juggernaut for Koyuki's Warrior. Gnimish seems to be going with a more standard version.
Right, but they're all required to play the Brewmasters, so we'll see them eventually over time. Now, we do see maybe the occasional youthful Brewmaster. We saw Firebat play it in DreamHack with his big game hunters.
Yep.
That also might be a case here. In fact, Paladin might be super good against Warrior, just because now you have so many ways to extend.
Yeah, this is true.
Based off of your use to answer big threats.
Yeah. With the Iron Juggernaut, the play with youthful Brewmasters or ancient Brewmasters is it's a pretty cute play, but it takes a long time because not only do you have to draw into those mechanics to bring back the Iron Juggernaut, you also have to have the mana to be able to do that turn after turn, which is pretty hard. I mean, of course, it just seems like a more standard deck other than that, but we've only seen 6 cards.
One thing we do want to also point out, we forgot to mention at the beginning of the show, is that we are getting a $250 bonus for the best use or the best deck of the secret ingredient. And that will be given out at the end of the day after we evaluate all the games and the judges can decide.
Yep. So keep in mind what decks you guys like the most and which decks you guys think are the most creative, the best use of that secret ingredient. And tweet it at us, and we'll post a poll.
ESL Hearthstone. Alright, so cool Taskmaster to answer, just to get semblance of board control. And here we have the first youthful Brewmaster appearing here now. Don't really see too much application at the moment, but again, if he picks up a big game hunter in this deck, just having 2 of them, or even 3, or maybe 5 of them, because you have 4 Brewmasters.
It's like fatigue made.
It's a little too idealistic, I know, but
well, Owl too.
It might happen.
Can be pretty good. Maybe not against Warrior as much.
Everything.
Silence all the things, and it's cheap too. It's 2 mana. I guess BGH is only 3 mana, but 2 mana Owl just Brewmaster back.
Brewmaster Harrison Jones. Have you ever made that mistake, by the way, where you silenced the battle, like when you first started playing, you silenced the battle cry minion?
Yes.
You thought that, like, why is this still happening?
Harrison Jones, why is my weapon not coming back? Oh, I made a lot of mistakes.
Why is his shield not going away?
Yeah, everybody gets to that point, or starts at that point.
Gnimish is met by 2 back-to-back Brewmasters. Now, the reason why we wanted to put all of them instead of just a little bit is because we felt like you can get away with 2 Brewmasters and just make the same thing. But 4 is a pretty big deal. It changes a considerable portion of the deck's identity.
Because 4 cards is a lot. I mean, what 4 cards do you... in mid-range Paladin, there's a lot of tech cards that you can cut out, but a lot of them are really important in most matchups. So.
Or even like Control Warrior. Like,
Control
Warrior. What are
Warrior.
you taking out? You have so many crucial things. You can take out, like, your Sengens, maybe like your Whirlwinds and whatnot.
Yeah.
Oh man, Iron Juggernaut on curve seems pretty nice. Although Ancient Brewmaster is also a 5/4 in its own right. So if you wanted to spend some removal here and then just play the Ancient Brewmaster to challenge the board, that's also a possibility.
Interesting.
It's not too different from Iron Juggernaut, in fact.
Yeah. We might just see some standard decks that are just throwing in using the Ancient Brewmasters
Right.
as just a body.
But that's not the point though. The
No.
point is to see how they use it,
Yeah.
right? Because it's one of those things where it's not supposed to be the deck itself that changes and revolutionizes the entire game. It's supposed to be like, can they find uses of this Brewmaster because it does fun plays. I definitely agree with this play because it's the same stats as an Iron Juggernaut, and I think he wants to get higher impact from it with the Youthful Brewmaster.
Or if your Tyrion gets silenced, you can Youthful Brewmaster your silenced Tyrion. Oh, jeez. Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's really good juggles as well.
Yeah.
He got both the juggles that he needed. 3 to kill the Ancient Brewmaster with just 1, and then the second went to face.
Oh man, another Brewmaster. Well, he does have Brawl sitting in his back pocket. And I think this is a pretty reasonable board to use it on. It's one of your most important cards against Paladins though, so
Yeah.
definitely stinks. That's unfortunate too that he didn't kill off this Sludge Belcher, so he can't use his weapon charge.
Yeah, this is the toughest one. Because either he has to spend the extra removal, either the Execute or the Shield Slam, to get rid of the first portion and the charge of the Fire War Axe.
I think the important thing is to not fall behind too much on the card count, because if you execute and attack with the weapon, then you're even, and then as the Paladin player, he can start getting far ahead with his hero power again. So it's a scary position from Koyuki. It's not as like, well, yeah, of course you want to kill a Sludge Belcher. You don't want to lose your armor. But if he passes here with his armor up, I wouldn't blame him, because he wants to keep really strong card parity compared to his opponents.
Yeah. And I think he really wants to protect that Iron Juggernaut. He's going to be very hesitant to throw that out, because I think that's probably the main strategy behind this deck.
Just wait till turn 10. You got
Wait-
Iron Juggernaut,
yeah.
Ancient Brewmaster.
And then by then, he'll probably have drawn into second Ancient Brewmaster, maybe even the Youthful Brewmasters, which makes it come out even quicker.
Do you think it's
Oh,
time
no.
to slam Tyrion here, or is it too early? It's the strongest tempo play for sure, because you're trying to fit in the best mana usage while being a strong.
I think you want to try and bait out a little bit more removal first.
Black Knight Brewmaster.
Yeah.
What's
Oh,
really
no.
funny is that because you because of Brewmasters, you don't normally think to play around into constructed, but in Arena it actually sometimes is considered.
Yeah.
Where it's like you have to be careful of how a Brewmaster might affect, because Brewmasters do have a lot of utility in Arena.
There's a lot of things that a lot of people consider in Arena that are just automatic thoughts. Shattered Sun Cleric is another one. That's a really big thing that you always think about when you're playing Arena. Like on turn 2, turn 3, that you rarely think about when you're playing Constructed.
Alright, well, Ancient Brewmaster does challenge the Sludge Belcher, and I'm guessing we're not going to see many wombo combos with Iron Juggernaut this game.
Nope.
But I'm pretty sure Koyuki won't be the only person to think of this, right?
Yeah.
I think everyone else will have to try to experiment with their Iron Juggernaut.
I think there's quite a few warriors today.
Let's see. We have 1, 2, 3 warriors.
3 warriors. Okay. 3 warriors coming from
We have
6
a lot
players.
of rogues, which excite me too, because we haven't seen rogue in a long
Oh
time.
no, not at all.
And of course, a lot of people bring warlock. Actually, no. Every class, if it's chosen, was only chosen 3 times maximum.
Huh.
Very good distribution.
Yeah.
I don't think we have shaman though, or priest.
Yeah, they don't fit too well with the themes, but
Wait, check this out. Antique heal bot in the warrior deck. It's like, you already have shield maiden. You already have shield block, and yet you're going to still use the antique heal bot? Pretty nuts.
yikes, having to blow a shield slam on shielded mini bot. That's
Really tough.
Yeah, that's the thing about Tyrion. If you don't have the means to remove it, if it's dropped earlier on in the game, like if it comes down right on turn 8 or turn 9,
Well, also think about this. What if Tyrion gets silenced?
bring it back.
You just panda and play him again.
He probably knows that too. Even if he draws the silence,
Oh,
he's probably
man.
saying, Gorhal.
Yeah, I don't know if this is working out. I think this matchup's just too tough.
Yeah.
I mean, Koyuki, I wouldn't blame him if he feels like conceding very soon, because he doesn't have an answer to Tyrion. Iron Juggernaut doesn't do anything. Gorehowl would have to wait another turn in order to attack and do. And that by then Tyrion's already done 18 damage plus.
Yeah. This deck seems pretty idealistic in the fact that it's taking like a very refined deck already and just trying to remove pieces and add an extra combo.
Well, Gorehowl is one of the best ways to catch up card-wise, but Gnimish also has his own Fire 3 weapon. He can do so much damage right back on.
Yeah. When you have 15 damage over 3 turns plus 5 damage showing on the board, it's going to be hard for him. Even with an anti-kill bot and being a warrior, that's a lot of health to get through. It's still going to be problematic.
Would you Brewmaster now, just in the case where you might need the Outdoor Peacekeeper? Alright,
nah. He's still alive, but...
Yeah. T-Killbot brings up to 14 with the hero power. Opponent will have 6, 7, 12, so he needs a little bit extra juice, maybe a consecration, or some way to boost his minion power here.
Oh, that's not it.
Not a Quartermaster. Man, if you just Quartermaster your Brewmaster, it'd be sick.
You could run things like Abusive Sergeant.
That's true.
You could useful Brewmaster,
be
Abusive
aggressive.
Sergeant. Yeah. And I don't think that's a terrible card to put in, especially if you have the Lethal Brewmaster to back it up. And I don't think there's really... Well, he could trade. Yeah, he'll trade. I don't think there's many cards that are going to help him come back here. He can Iron Juggernaut? No, never mind.
He needs to get Alex Straza to try and come back here. At least health-wise.
Yeah. Even then, it probably still wouldn't be enough.
I mean, this is not necessarily trying to do anything like make sure the anti-kill bot isn't a threat. It's the fact that he wants more damage on the board to kill. It's a 3-3. Shield Maiden.
Bring him up to 11.
Guess he's gonna show Iron Juggernaut. Pass it back. Oh, I thought he passed it back on the off chance that he draws it, but I think I'm gonna do it for game number 1, and Gnimish is gonna win it with Paladin. Keep in mind that this is gonna be last hero standing, so he's gonna still stay on Paladin. We're gonna see what Koyuki chooses next. He has Rogue and his own Paladin at his disposal. And it makes sense because I think Koyuki is well known for his Paladin deck. So.
I think Rogue's probably going to be the choice here. Rogue seems to be... I mean, this is just judging by traditional matchups, like current matchups. The decks could be completely different. It could be a completely different
Could be an
Rogue
aggressive Rogue, and then... I don't know, like basically maybe you replace Shadow Steps with Brewmasters.
Yeah.
Or maybe you have Shadow Steps and Brewmasters, and you just have like
Whoa!
this non-stop bouncing, like back and forth, where you just like Shadow Step a Brewmaster and you Brewmaster or something else. Because if you Shadow Step a Brewmaster, it costs 0, or a Youthful Brewmaster.
Why wouldn't you just
Shadow
Step the mob that you the creature that you were gonna Brewmaster in the first place? It's cool. It's a cool thought, though.
I don't know. I'm trying to think out loud.
Yeah.
I clearly I haven't really done much Brewmaster
just
with Rogue. If you can excuse me for that.
You could Leroy